Right. So a few days ago, Ireland headed for general elections, and literally nothing seems to have changed that much, which was kind of a letdown for many people because the coalition government that governed Ireland for a long time now has been re-elected. Obviously, the Greens won't be part of it. I think that they did have the previous government's back, but now they have been completely crushed. So this is the good news. They had 12 seats, now they have 1. So let's see what happened here in the results. We have the Sinn Féin got 39 seats, the Fianna Fáil got 48, the Fine Gael got 38, the Green Party 1, the Labour Party 11, the Social Democrat Party got 11, I think that's called People Before Profits, Solidarity got 3, and Independents and others got 23.
Do they have a single right-wing party?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have to summarise this for me because I don't really know that much about Irish politics. Okay. But all of those sound like left-wing parties.
That's the tragedy. The overwhelming majority of them are either left or globalist, which means left, but sometimes not as fast left. Right. So what happened here, in a nutshell, is the party with Simon Harris and Helen McEntee just lost a seat from 39. I think they got 38. Fianna Fáil got 10 seats. They were governing as a coalition.
I don't like that brand of leftism. I want this brand of leftism.
So on paper, the Fianna Fáil is supposed to be centre-right, but it's globally centre-right.
Yeah,
it's like Ursula von der Leyen in the EU, which means essentially they are they're abiding by EU policies, in this case, especially by the EU migration pact.
So hang on a second. So what I'm going to guess that what they are is economically right-wing, as in pro-free market, international, but socially liberal.
Yeah. I would say the way I saw them acting, they reminded me a lot of the Tories.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Right. So the Green Party has lost 11 seats. From 12 they went to 1, but Labour and Social Democrat, which people tell me are very, very left, they're hard left and also woke,
really?
They got 10 seats. Yeah. So maybe the 11 seats that left the Green Party went to those two parties.
I can't help but notice that they have the exact same turnout that we have at 59%. Yeah. So 40% of Irish people are just like, yeah, well, there's nothing for me here.
Which was less than the 63% of 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Here we have the results from 4 years ago, where we see what happened. You see here Labour and Social Democrats had 12 seats
wrong kind of
in combination, and the Greens.
Communist.
Yeah, so I suspect most of the Greens went there. So yeah, it's good that the Green Party got crushed, but I suspect nothing changed that much.
It's the election equivalent of Grandpa Simpson walking in, taking his hat off, putting the hat back on, and coming back out.
Yeah. So here we see the composition of the Doyle, I think it's called, and we see here the maps where particular parties went well or bad, how much of the vote they got according to particular counties. Right. So there are several questions of what happened here. What's going to happen? So most probably we are looking for a coalition between the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael, which is mostly the government that governed before. But the major partner is going to be the leader of the Fianna Fáil.
Yep.
And this raises the hope that Simon Harris is going to take a secondary role and that Helen McEntee maybe won't be involved as she was involved before. And we will talk about her in a bit. But the coalition didn't lose that much. They lost only 0.4% from 43.1 as a total. 4 years ago, they have 42.7. And the Sinn Féin lost close to 5.5. But there's a substantial question here. What happened? Okay, what happened? Why did this happen? And, what on earth were the Irish thinking? Because there are all sorts of strategies now that the new government is going to think. Question is, how are they going to form it? Because together they don't have the majority. They need at least 2 seats to have the majority. So the question here is, where are they going to address? Who are they going to address? My suspicion is that they are not going to address a major party, because that would give the leader of that party really much power to break the government if their demands aren't met. So I think they're going to go to the independents.
Just a quick thing. I assume they have proportional representation in Ireland, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
I may be completely mistaken. I hope I'm not.
I don't know.
I think they do. My other thing is, there's clearly a gap in the market here for where most populist, disenfranchised voters are. No. Nigel Farage is a Thatcherite.
Sure.
So he is economically.
I meant sort of spiritual.
No. I'm thinking like an Irish Marine Le Pen, of where they have a national preference policy. They like the welfare state, which I have my problems with, but that's where most voters are. But are socially conservative. Sure. My question is, what in the Irish electoral system paralyzes that from moving through, when you just has those 2 constitutional referendums and wokeness was repudiated, and they said, no, we like the natural Catholic family and we like mothers having a place in the home.
Let's see the St. Patrick Party.
Why has nobody capitalised on this? Open question. Please leave comments.
Well, here is where I think the segment would go. How I planned it is that there is a question as to why this happened, and there are several scenarios. Number 1, people were happy with the government. It doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think they were.
Not if they've dropped about 10% of voter participation.
Yeah, and the other bit is that they didn't know where to go. That's the most likely the most likely scenario, is that they didn't know exactly where to go, so they may have said, well, better the devil I know than the devil I don't know. Yep. And there's a question there, and obviously there is a gap in the electoral market about, you could say, a genuine right-wing party that would be pro-Irish national sovereignty, and not in the virtue signaling way that the nominally center-right parties are doing. The point is that it looks like just saying no to immigration isn't enough of a message. People want to say no. People want to say that they want to maintain a strong sense of national sentiment and national loyalty, and national sovereignty. But there needs to be a more coherent policy. Whatever.
Well, I'm just thinking, the St. Patrick Party. It's not enough to say no to the snakes. You've got to drive them into the sea. Just saying, it mimetically fits. That's all.
We do have a lot of Irish viewers as well.
I know.
So get on it.
I'm very sympathetic to the Irish, because they're speedrunning the English experience at the moment. And they've arrived at the position where all of our parties are basically left-wing. Well, so essentially you need, when I say Farage, I don't mean literally Farage.
Yes.
But the outsider who kind of forces their way in to represent a more nativist perspective.
You need a Trumpian figure.
Yeah, a Trumpian figure, yeah. And surprisingly, Ireland, you would think it would be fairly easy for Ireland to find one.
Yeah.
Because socially, they seem to be a much more right-wing country than most. So,
I think, and I think that they really have a Catholic
they're very
side to
strongly
them.
Catholic. So, I'm just saying the St. Patrick Party that's going to...
But if you that's also interesting, because if you...
good messaging.
If you think that they are speed running the English experience... There are also lots of insights to extract from this case, because if there is to be a party, they have to have a strong message, a well formulated vision that is attached to a coherent set of policies that also shows that there is a kind of that it could work.
Yeah, we need to know the mechanism of how they're going to get driven into the sea.
Well, if you want to call it that way. Right, so here we have Michael Martin and Simon Harris holding informal discussions. I think right now they're in Scotland. Keir Starmer is also with them. Mm-hmm. They are...
Really?
Yeah, I think they're talking. And they're trying to see how they are going to govern as a coalition.
Keir Starmer's going to give them some advice, is he?
Well, yeah, because he's...
How to love your country.
Bring us back into the orbit of the EU. They're pro-EU politicians. So even the old battles around the national sovereignty of Ireland don't matter to people who have globalist loyalties.
Sure, but why would you want Keir Starmer's advice?
Oh, because he just won a decisive victory.
Yeah. Look at him now.
Right. So here we have an article by The Conversation saying what happened to Sinn Féin. Ireland's opposition fails to make electoral breakthrough. I have the impression that they are a bit more left-wing than the globalist government that they had.
Imagine your opposition to the globalist coalition is Sinn Féin.
Well, they traded the tricolour for the rainbow flag. Yeah. So
we see here the Irish Greens wiped out in the the election route. My fear is that the government right now may approach the Green member of parliament, which would tie really well to the idea, for instance, that the coalition is going to govern according to the EU's mandates and EU's orders. So if the EU is ordering them to implement the net zero policies and all the green policies, there isn't that much reason not to put that Green party member there. So that it could be the case, but if it happens, it's going to be because of the EU, I think.
Yeah, probably. But ideologically, you can barely get a credit card between any of these parties, can you? So who cares?
But we do see a pattern across Europe of people being very much resistant to the Green Party and voting against them really hard. I remember, was it in Germany a few months ago? Was it in the Brandenburg state elections that the Greens got completely crushed there as well? And right, so here we have a very good thread by David Thunder. I always follow David Thunder, and as well as other people, my friend Karen as well. He has a good thread here, and what he says is that there were essentially three scenarios. Either the voters blamed most policy failures on the Greens, or they were pretty happy with the incumbent government, which seems completely unlikely, or they just felt that there was no other viable option, and they followed the better the devil than you know. And he ends with the conclusion I mentioned before, and the line of thinking that a party has to take place. It's good in this. We need to talk about this in dissident spheres, because dissident spheres have many people who are very much anti-system. But the question is whether you're anti-system as such, or as anti the form that the current system has. So anti-system for anti-system sake doesn't seem to be strong enough.
Yeah.
And I will say this, which may not, a lot of our viewers in the US may not like. It seems to me that Trump is not going to destroy the US system the way a lot of people believed he would.
Yeah. All I'm saying is vote St. Patrick for a snake-free island. Again, the slogans write themselves, right, man. Like,
and here it shows the tragedy that happened in Ireland, according to the way I see it, is that actually the people weren't happy with the coalition government. I think that the results of the referendums of March the 8th show this resoundingly. They really disliked the agenda that the coalition government was putting forward. And we need to bear in mind that Ireland is suffering from a housing crisis, a healthcare crisis.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I wonder what could have caused this.
A housing crisis. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
You wonder what it caused. Let's see some stats. Ireland's housing shortage is worsening due to increasing demand. I wonder why. Local councils lost power to build housing 30 years ago, plus 90% of government money concentrated at national level. Also, Ireland built entire states were poor and stupid, now can't build a hospital. Privatization of infrastructure projects led to inefficiency. A must listen for anyone concerned about Ireland's housing crisis and local governance. Now, I'll take that with a pinch of salt, but it seems that a lot of people are saying that it doesn't look well.
It's going to be the same managerial crisis that we're facing.
So what the coalition government said, which is interesting to look at it from a rhetoric perspective, they said that they had a surplus budget, which is, you could say on its own it's good. Sure. But on the other hand, if you just look at that variable and ignore all the others, we're going to have a very distorted picture. So it could be the case that a lot of the voters, or a substantial amount of voters, just look at it in the abstract and say, okay, we have surplus budget according to the rhetoric of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, so we're going to vote for them. And here there is also a very huge immigration crisis an asylum crisis in Ireland. It's pushed forward by the EU and by the EU Migration Pact. Here we have Helen McEntee saying, literally, I think about a month ago, you have millions of people on the move. You can't tell them not to seek a better life.
You can, actually. You are an island. Yeah. You can.
Yeah. And even if you weren't an island, Poland and Hungary have shown us you still can.
Yes, but it's not like people are literally just walking in.
But even if they are, you can build a fucking barrier to stop them. You know, it's like...
if it works for the Israelis, it's good enough for me.
Well, the thing, Poland and Hungary literally did this and just cut them over the barrier, yeah. Anyway.
Yes, and there's a lot of dissatisfaction with politicians like her and the kind of politics that they advocate. She was behind one of the worst hate speech bills ever. Yeah. Some parts of it have passed, not all of it, but she said that she will carry on.
Of course she will.
And as I have been told, there is allegation of corruption. There are suspicions of corruption because her husband is a senior executive in one of the pharmaceutical companies that sells puberty blocker drugs called AbbVie. So there is considerable suspicion with respect to her. People really don't like her. Maybe the new government now will tell her that she shouldn't be in the Minister of Justice as she was. Mm-hmm. But I have the impression that she's gonna keep hammering this.
Well, even if she doesn't keep her job, the commitment to the on-rails way of sort of global liberal politics continues to go forward. It's just that she's become bad PR for them.
Yeah. So just to summarize, it looks like nothing changed, unfortunately. And for there to be meaningful change, there has to be a genuine right-wing Irish movement that respects national sovereignty, but also has a very coherent plan and vision with respect to how to do it, that will seem as a good plan in the eyes of most of the Irish.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're up to, you can always go to our website and watch our series looking at the films of Stanley Kubrick. And if you want to see all the other things that we're doing, you can always follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.